Welcome to the Buddhism podcast. Today we're diving into something we all know too well, workplace anxiety, and the remarkable ways ancient breathing techniques can transform our experience at work. I remember my first panic attack at work like it was yesterday. I was preparing for a major presentation when my heart started racing. My breathing became shallow, and my mind filled with worst-case scenarios. At that moment, it felt like my body and mind were conspiring against me. Maybe you've had a similar experience, that overwhelming feeling when a deadline looms. A difficult conversation approaches, or an email marked urgent appears in your inbox. What's fascinating is that I'm far from alone. Studies show that 83% of US workers suffer from work-related stress, with 54% reporting that workplace stress affects their home life. Beyond the personal suffering, workplace anxiety costs businesses approximately $300 billion annually in lost productivity and healthcare costs. We're experiencing what many experts call an epidemic of workplace anxiety. But here's what changed everything for me. Remembering what the Buddha taught 2.600 years ago. When asked how he maintained such peace amid chaos, the Buddha pointed to a single practice, mindfulness of breathing. This is my dwelling, he said, remembering the breath, not a special technique for special occasions, but a continuous relationship with the most fundamental process of being alive. Modern neuroscience has caught up with this ancient wisdom, confirming what Buddhist practitioners have known for centuries. Our breath is the most direct pathway to our nervous system. When we change how we breathe, we literally change our mental state. Today, I'll share 5 powerful breathing techniques specifically adapted for workplace settings. These aren't just relaxation exercises, they're transformative practices drawn from Buddhist and yogic traditions that address different types of workplace challenges. You'll learn when and how to use each one, including discrete variations you can practice without anyone noticing you're doing something spiritual in your cubicle. What makes the workplace both challenging and perfect for breath practice is precisely its stressful nature. When colleagues are testing our patience, when deadlines are bearing down, when perfectionism kicks in, these aren't obstacles to practice. They're the exact conditions that make practice meaningful. As the great Tibetan teacher Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche said, the path is the goal. Our workplace challenges become our path to greater awareness and equanimity. So whether you're listening to this during your commute, on your lunch break, or after a particularly stressful day, know that your next breath contains the potential for transformation. Let's explore how to access that potential together, one conscious breath at a time. Part 1. Understanding workplace anxiety. Before we dive into techniques, let's understand what's actually happening when workplace anxiety strikes. From a Buddhist perspective, anxiety isn't some modern affliction unknown to ancient wisdom. The Buddha called it fear and dread, and recognized it as a universal human experience rooted in our attachment to outcomes, our resistance to change, and our habitual tendency to live in anticipated futures rather than the present moment. What's fascinating is how perfectly this ancient understanding aligns with what modern neuroscience tells us. When workplace anxiety kicks in, our sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response, activates. Heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallow and rapid, blood flows away from our digestive organs and toward our limbs, and stress hormones flood our system. All of this made perfect sense when we were facing tigers on the savannah. It makes considerably less sense when we're facing a challenging email or an upcoming performance review. Here's where it gets really interesting. Our breath is both affected by this stress response and capable of changing it. It's like having both the problem and the solution in one package. When we're anxious, our breathing naturally becomes shallow and rapid, but when we consciously change our breathing pattern, we can actually signal to our nervous system that we're safe, activating the parasympathetic, rest and digest, response instead. In the workplace, anxiety typically gets triggered in 3 common scenarios. First, there's time pressure and deadlines, that feeling of too much to do, not enough time, which creates a specific kind of constricted breath pattern. Then there's interpersonal stress, difficult conversations, challenging colleagues, or high-stakes meetings, which often leads to held or suspended breath. And finally, there's performance anxiety, presentations, evaluations, or any situation where we feel we're being judged, which tends to create rapid upper chest breathing. Have you ever noticed that you have a work breath that's different from your rest breath? Many of us unconsciously adopt a tense, shallow breathing pattern the moment we sit at our desk or log into our work email. It's like our body is armoring itself for battle. This habitual pattern becomes so normal that we don't even notice it, until we feel the effects of being in a low-grade stress state all day long. The Buddha taught that liberation comes from creating space between stimulus and response. In workplace terms, this means creating space between a stressful trigger, like a difficult email, and our habitual reaction. Conscious breathing creates exactly this space. It's like inserting a pause button into our automatic anxiety response. giving us the freedom to respond skillfully rather than react habitually. What I love about breath practice is that it works on multiple levels simultaneously. At a physiological level, it directly affects your nervous system, reducing cortisol and activating relaxation responses. At an emotional level, it creates space around difficult feelings, allowing them to be present without overwhelming you. And at a cognitive level, it interrupts rumination, bringing your attention back to the present moment where actual choices, rather than imagined disasters, reside. The workplace provides constant opportunities to apply this understanding. That colleague who always triggers you in meetings, breath practice. That project with the impossible deadline, breath practice. That performance review you're dreading, breath practice. Not as avoidance of these challenges, but as a way to meet them with greater presence and skill. And the best part, you don't need any special equipment. You don't need to tell anyone what you're doing, and no one can stop you from doing it. Your breath is always with you, always available, and always free. It's the most portable and practical anxiety management tool ever invented, which is probably why the Buddha called mindfulness of breathing the noble dwelling place for the mind. Now let's explore how to use this incredible built-in resource with 5 powerful techniques specifically adapted for workplace situations. Part 2. The 4-7-8 technique. Let's start with what I consider the emergency brake for workplace anxiety, the powerful 4-7-8 breathing technique. Popularized by Dr. Andrew Weil but rooted in ancient pranayama practices, this technique has been my personal lifesaver before high-stakes meetings, presentations, and those moments when the inbox seems to be exploding with urgent messages. Why is 4-7-8 so effective? It directly hacks your nervous system, triggering what scientists call the vagal response. The extended hold and long exhale activate your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's built-in calming mechanism. Think of it as hitting the physiological override button when anxiety has taken control. Here's how to do it. Sit comfortably at your desk with your spine reasonably straight. If you can, close your eyes, but if you're in an open office where closed eyes might raise eyebrows, just soften your gaze downward. Now, place the tip of your tongue against the ridge behind your upper front teeth and keep it there throughout the exercise. Yes, tongue position matters. It completes an energy circuit in the body according to yogic tradition, and it gives your mind something specific to focus on besides that anxiety-producing email. Start by exhaling completely through your mouth, making a soft whooshing sound. Then close your mouth and inhale quietly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7. Finally, exhale completely through your mouth with that same whooshing sound for a count of 8. That's 1 cycle. Repeat for a total of 4 cycles. Let's try it together right now. I'll guide you through 1 complete cycle. Ready? Empty your lungs. Now inhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And exhale through your mouth with that whooshing sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Notice what happened in your body just now. Perhaps a slight relaxation in your shoulders, a softening in your face, or a slowing of your heart rate. What makes this technique perfect for the workplace is that it works incredibly quickly. Usually within 30 to 60 seconds you will feel a noticeable shift. It's the breathing equivalent of hitting the reset button on your nervous system. I've literally done this technique in bathroom stalls before big presentations, in elevators before difficult meetings, and under my desk during particularly stressful conference calls. Here's where to use it, before any high-stakes situation where you need to be at your best. Before clicking join on that important Zoom call, while waiting for your turn to present, when you feel tension rising during a difficult conversation, or when you return to your desk after receiving challenging news and need to resend quickly. Now, let's talk workplace modifications. If you're in a quiet open office where that whooshing sound might draw attention, simply exhale through slightly pursed lips more quietly. If 4 full cycles feels too time-consuming in a pinch, even 1 or 2 cycles can shift your state. And if holding for a count of 7 is too challenging at first, start with a 4-4-8 pattern and work your way up. One client of mine, a senior executive with severe presentation anxiety, keeps a small sticky note with 4-7-8 written on it inside her portfolio. Before every board presentation, she takes 30 seconds in the hallway to practice this technique. She told me, it's the difference between walking in feeling like a panicked mess and walking in feeling grounded and capable. What's particularly beautiful about this technique is how it embodies the Buddhist principle of finding the middle path. The structured counting gives your thinking mind something to focus on, preventing it from spinning anxiety stories. Meanwhile, the physiological pattern of the breath is directly calming your body. You're addressing both the mental and physical aspects of anxiety simultaneously. One cautionary note: the first time you try this, you might feel a little lightheaded from the extended exhale. That's completely normal. If that happens, just return to your natural breathing for a few moments before trying again. With practice, your body adapts, and the technique becomes more comfortable. Remember, you don't need to wait for anxiety to strike to use this technique. Many practitioners find that using 4-7-8 breathing proactively, perhaps before checking email first thing in the morning or before entering a meeting you know might be tense, can prevent anxiety from escalating in the first place. It's not just an emergency response, it's a preventative practice. This technique is powerful on its own, but as we explore our next breathing practices, you'll discover how different techniques address different workplace challenges. Think of 4-7-8 as your rapid response tool, the one you reach for when you need immediate relief from acute anxiety. Let's continue exploring our breathing toolkit with another powerful practice. Part 3. Alternate nostril breathing. Now let's explore one of the most elegant breathing techniques from the yogic tradition that has been incorporated into many Buddhist practices, alternate nostril breathing, or what's traditionally called Nadi Shodhana. While our previous technique was the emergency brake for acute anxiety, this practice is more like precision tuning for your nervous system, especially when you need mental clarity and balanced energy. Have you ever noticed that when you're tackling a complex problem at work, your thinking can become either scattered and chaotic or rigidly stuck in one perspective? That's where alternate nostril breathing shines. It's specifically designed to balance the two hemispheres of your brain and harmonize your energy, creating an ideal state for clear thinking and balanced decision-making. Here's the fascinating science behind it. Researchers have discovered that we naturally alternate breathing between nostrils throughout the day. When your right nostril is dominant, the left hemisphere of your brain, associated with logical thinking, is more active. When your left nostril is dominant, your right hemisphere, associated with creative thinking, takes the lead. Alternate nostril breathing manually balances this system, creating whole brain integration, exactly what you need when facing complex workplace challenges. Let's learn how to practice it. Sit comfortably at your desk with your spine reasonably straight. Raise your right hand and fold your index and middle fingers toward your palm, leaving your thumb, ring finger, and pinky extended. This is called Vishnu Mudra in the yogic tradition, but we can think of it as our nostril navigation system. Now, use your right thumb to gently close your right nostril, and inhale slowly through your left nostril. At the top of your inhale, release your right nostril and use your ring finger to close your left nostril. Then exhale slowly through your right nostril. That's half a cycle. Now, keeping your left nostril closed, inhale through your right nostril. At the top of the inhale, close your right nostril with your thumb, release your left nostril, and exhale through your left nostril. That completes one full cycle. Let's try a cycle together. Close your right nostril with your thumb. Inhale through your left. At the top of the breath, close your left nostril with your ring finger, release your right, and exhale through your right. Now inhale through your right, at the top. Close your right with your thumb, release your left, and exhale through your left. Feel that? There's a beautiful rhythm to it once you get the hang of it. Now, I hear what some of you might be thinking. This looks weird. I can't do this in my open plan office. Don't worry, I've got you covered with the office appropriate modification. Instead of using your hand, you can simply visualize the alternating breath pattern while taking slightly deeper breaths than normal. With practice, you'll find you can actually feel the alternating flow even without physical nostril closure. Or, if you prefer, you can always excuse yourself to the restroom or a quiet corner for a quick 2-minute practice. For workplace purposes, I recommend practicing for about 3 to 5 minutes. That's roughly 9 to 12 complete cycles, which is enough to create a noticeable cognitive shift without taking too much time away from your tasks. The balanced state typically lasts for 30 to 60 minutes after practice. When should you use alternate nostril breathing at work? This technique is particularly powerful before complex problem-solving tasks when you need both creative and analytical thinking. Prior to important decisions where you want to avoid both emotional reactivity and cold logic. During transitions between very different types of work, like switching from detailed analysis to creative brainstorming. When you notice yourself stuck in rigid thinking patterns or judgment. When you need to shift from a stressed state to a state of calm alertness. One of my clients, a project manager in tech, practices alternate nostril breathing before every cross-functional meeting. She told me, I used to enter those meetings either too aggressive or too passive. Depending on my day, this practice helps me find the middle ground where I can be both assertive and receptive. What I love about this technique is how it embodies the Buddhist concept of the middle way. The Buddha taught that wisdom lies not in extremes but in the balanced center path. Alternate nostril breathing physically creates this balance in your nervous system, making it easier to access a centered perspective on workplace challenges. A subtle but powerful aspect of this practice is the momentary pause at the top of each breath. That tiny gap between inhale and exhale is like a miniature meditation. A moment of pure stillness. Over time, these micro moments of stillness accumulate, training your mind to find that calm center even in busy workplace environments. While the 4-7-8 technique we learned earlier works through the extended exhale to activate your parasympathetic system. Alternate nostril breathing works through rhythm and balance to harmonize your entire nervous system. It's less about calming down and more about tuning up, creating an optimal state for clarity and integrated thinking. Try incorporating this practice before your most mentally demanding tasks this week, and notice the difference in your cognitive performance. You might be surprised at how just 3 minutes of alternate nostril breathing can transform how you approach complex workplace challenges. Part 4. Box breathing. Now let's explore one of my favorite techniques for moments of intense workplace pressure: box breathing. If you're wondering where the box comes in, you'll love the elegant simplicity of this practice. Imagine drawing the 4 sides of a square with your breath, each side representing equal counts of inhaling, holding, exhaling, and holding again. That's box breathing, also known as square breathing or 4-part breath. What makes this technique so special? It was developed and popularized by Navy SEALs, first responders, and elite athletes, people who regularly face extreme pressure situations. If it works for someone defusing a bomb or competing in the Olympics, it can certainly help with that tense client meeting or tight deadline. The power of box breathing lies in its perfect balance and the element of control it offers when things feel chaotic. When workplace anxiety strikes, we often feel things spinning out of control. Box breathing immediately gives you something you can control with perfect precision: your breath. This psychological shift from "everything's chaotic" to "I can control this one thing perfectly" creates a powerful ripple effect in your nervous system. Here's how to practice it. Sit comfortably with your feet flat on the floor if possible. You can keep your eyes open with a soft focus if you're in an office setting. This technique is quite discreet. Begin by exhaling completely to empty your lungs. Then, inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 4. Exhale through your nose or mouth for a count of 4. Hold your breath out for a count of 4. That's one complete cycle. Let's experience it together. Empty your lungs first. Now inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Feel how each side of the box has the same length, creating a sense of perfect stability. The count itself doesn't matter as much as keeping all 4 parts equal. If 4 counts feels too short or too long, adjust to a 3 count or 5 count box, but keep all sides equal. This equality is key to the technique's effectiveness. It creates a perfect balance between stimulation, inhaling, and relaxation, exhaling. Here's where I find box breathing particularly valuable in the workplace. In those acute moments right before a high-pressure event. About to walk into a tense negotiation, box breathing. About to deliver difficult feedback, box breathing. About to hit send on that email resigning from your job, definitely box breathing. The brilliance of this technique is that it works seamlessly with visualization. As you trace this perfect square with your breath, visualize actually drawing the 4 sides of a box. This engages your visual cortex, giving your racing mind something concrete to focus on. The more senses you involve, the more powerful the practice becomes. For workplace situations where you need to be especially discreet, try what I call finger box breathing. Subtly trace a small square on your leg or desk with your index finger, one side during each phase of the breath. Anyone watching would just see a small, repetitive movement, while you're actually regulating your entire nervous system. The connection to Buddhist practice here is fascinating. In many Buddhist traditions, particularly Zen, there's a focus on the perfection found in simple geometric shapes and patterns. The perfectly balanced square of box breathing mirrors the balanced mind that Buddhism cultivates, not swinging wildly between extremes but finding stability in the center. I remember using this technique before a particularly difficult conversation with my boss several years ago. My heart was racing, my palms were sweaty, and my thoughts were a jumbled mess. I excused myself to the restroom and practiced just 6 cycles of box breathing. When I returned to his office, something remarkable had happened. I wasn't free of nervousness, but there was a new clarity and steadiness that allowed me to speak authentically rather than reactively. What makes box breathing unique in our toolkit is its emphasis on the holding phases, both after inhale and after exhale. These conscious pauses train your nervous system to be comfortable with stillness. Even in the midst of pressure, in workplace terms, it teaches you how to pause before reacting to that triggering email or challenging comment in a meeting. For maximum benefit, aim for 6 to 8 cycles, which takes about 2 to 3 minutes. But even 3 cycles, less than a minute, can create a noticeable shift in your state. This makes box breathing perfect for those workplace moments when you only have seconds to recenter yourself. As Navy SEAL Commander Mark Devine says, box breathing is a powerful tool that's always in your kit, requires no equipment, can be done anywhere, and takes very little time to regulate your nervous system. I couldn't agree more. It's like having a secret reset button that works in even the most intense workplace situations. Try box breathing the next time you feel that surge of workplace anxiety or before entering a high-stakes situation. You might be amazed at how something so simple can be so transformative. Part 5. Counting breath. Now let's explore a technique that takes us right to the heart of traditional Buddhist meditation practice, the counting breath. If the previous techniques we've discussed are like specialized tools for specific workplace situations, counting breath is your reliable everyday practice, the meditation equivalent of that perfectly broken-in pair of jeans you can wear anywhere. This technique comes directly from Zen Buddhist traditions, where it's often the first practice taught to beginning meditators. But don't let its simplicity fool you. The great Zen masters considered breath counting to be so powerful that many practiced it their entire lives. As the saying goes, in the beginner's mind there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind there are few. What makes counting breath uniquely suited for the workplace is that it can run in the background while you're doing other things. Unlike our previous techniques that require a pause in your activities, counting breath can be integrated into your actual work, typing emails, attending meetings, even walking between appointments. It becomes a continuous thread of awareness woven throughout your workday. Here's how to practice it. As you breathe normally, simply count each exhale, from 1 to 10. When you reach 10, start over at 1. If you lose track or notice your mind has wandered, gently begin again at 1. That's it, beautifully simple. Let's try a few cycles together. Breathe normally, counting 1 on your first exhale, 2 on the next exhale, continuing up to 10. Then starting over. Notice how this gives your mind just enough structure to stay present without becoming complicated. There's something almost magical about the simplicity of this practice. By giving your thinking mind the small task of counting, you liberate it from its usual frenetic activity. It's like giving a puppy a chew toy. It keeps that active part of your mind occupied while a deeper awareness naturally emerges. When should you use counting breath at work? This is your always available technique for creating a continuous background of mindfulness throughout your workday, bringing yourself back when you notice you've been lost in rumination, maintaining focus during repetitive or mundane tasks, keeping yourself present during long meetings when your mind wants to wander, creating a sense of continuity between the more intensive techniques we've discussed. The workplace application is wonderfully versatile. You can count breaths while listening to a colleague speak, while waiting for a document to load, or while walking to the break room. No one will know you're practicing, but they might notice you seem more present and less reactive. What makes this technique particularly powerful for workplace anxiety is how it trains sustained attention. Much of our workplace stress comes from fractured attention, constantly switching between tasks, thoughts, and worries. Counting breath rebuilds our capacity for sustained focus. Research from neuroscience shows that this kind of attention training actually changes brain structure, increasing density in areas associated with attention regulation and decreasing it in areas associated with mind wandering. Here's a fascinating workplace insight. The moment you notice you've lost count is actually the most valuable moment in the practice. That instant of recognition, oh, I'm at number 7. Wait, where was I? Is the moment of awakening from autopilot. In Buddhist terms, it's the moment of mindfulness. So don't get frustrated when you lose track. Celebrate it as a moment of awareness. I recommend starting with short sessions, perhaps counting 10 breaths while waiting for your computer to boot up in the morning. As you get comfortable with the practice, you can extend it to longer periods or integrate it into more activities. Some practitioners eventually reach the point where breath counting becomes their default background awareness during most of the workday. One client of mine, a software developer with ADHD who struggled with workplace anxiety, found counting breath transformative. It's like having an anchor. He told me, when I feel myself getting overwhelmed by a complex problem or anxious about a deadline, I drop into counting my breaths for a few minutes. It doesn't make the challenge go away, but it helps me approach it from a centered place rather than a panicked one. What I love about counting breath is how it embodies the Buddhist principle of simplicity. We often think we need complex solutions for our workplace challenges, but sometimes the simplest practice is the most profound. Breath by breath, count by count, we build an internal foundation of stability that workplace pressures cannot easily shake. There's also something wonderfully egalitarian about this practice. You don't need special training, expensive equipment, or even much time. Your breath is always with you, always available as a point of return to the present moment. In a workplace culture that often values complexity and specialization, there's revolutionary power in this simple, universal practice. Try integrating counting breath into your workday this week. Perhaps start with specific triggers, every time you reach for your phone. Take 10 counted breaths first, or whenever you sit down at your desk after a break. Begin with 5 cycles of counted breathing. These small moments of practice accumulate, gradually transforming your relationship with workplace anxiety from one of reactivity to one of responsive awareness. Part 6. 3-part breath. Let's move on to a breathing technique that's particularly magical for those moments when workplace fatigue sets in and anxiety rises because your energy reserves are depleted. The 3-part breath, or Dirgha pranayama in yogic tradition, is like a full body recharge that works from the inside out. I discovered this technique during my own 3 p.m. crash periods at work. You know that time, when your morning coffee has worn off. Lunch is making you sleepy, and you've still got hours to go. Your energy dips, your focus blurs, and suddenly even small workplace challenges feel overwhelming. 3-part breath became my afternoon secret weapon, and I'm excited to share it with you. What makes this technique special is how it maximizes your breath capacity and oxygen intake, awakening your energy without requiring anything more stimulating than your own breath. It's like discovering your lungs have secret compartments you haven't been using. Here's how to practice it. Sit comfortably with your spine reasonably straight. If it helps, place one hand on your belly and one on your chest to feel the movement more clearly. Begin by taking a complete exhale to create space. Now, inhale in 3 distinct segments. First, fill your lower belly, feeling it expand like a balloon. Continue the same inhale, now expanding your rib cage outward and upward. Finally, complete the inhale by filling your upper chest all the way to the collarbones. Then exhale in reverse order or as one smooth, complete exhale, emptying your lungs fully. Let's experience a cycle together. Start with an empty exhale. Now begin your inhale. Filling first your belly, continuing to fill your rib cage, and finally your upper chest. Now exhale completely, either in segments or as one smooth release. Feel that? There's something incredibly satisfying about using your full breathing capacity. Most of us use only a fraction of our lung potential during normal breathing, particularly when workplace anxiety creates shallow chest breathing. 3-part breath counteracts this pattern, reminding your body how to breathe fully and efficiently. This technique directly addresses the energy depletion that often accompanies workplace anxiety. When your energy is low, challenges feel more threatening, and your anxiety response kicks in more easily. By increasing oxygen intake and stimulating your diaphragm, 3-part breathing creates an energy boost that's both calming and invigorating, without the jittery side effects of that third cup of coffee. Here's where 3-part breath is particularly valuable in the workplace. During the mid-afternoon energy slump when concentration falters, after a heavy lunch when you're fighting mental fog, before a meeting or task that requires your full presence and energy, at the end of a long workday when you need to transition to evening activities, when physical tension from desk work has restricted your breathing. The beautiful link to Buddhist practice here is the concept of energy cultivation. In many Buddhist traditions, particularly Tibetan practices, there are specific techniques for working with the body's subtle energy. 3-part breath is a simplified version that anyone can practice, connecting you to this ancient understanding that breath and life energy are intimately connected. For workplace settings, you can practice this subtly by simply focusing on the 3 zones of breath without visible hand placement. 10 cycles, which takes about 2 to 3 minutes, is usually enough to create a noticeable energy shift. But even 3 conscious 3-part breaths while waiting for the elevator can create a mini revival when fatigue is setting in. A particularly powerful application is using 3-part breath to transition between work activities. The full inhale symbolizes taking in new energy for your next task, while the complete exhale represents releasing the previous activity. This creates clean energetic breaks in your workday rather than having everything blur together in one anxious continuum. One client, a nurse who works long shifts, uses 3-part breathing during her brief breaks. Those full breaths are like pressing a reset button. She told me, "I feel the fatigue and stress physically leaving my body with each exhale." It's amazing how different my patience and focus are after just 2 minutes of this practice. What I love about 3-part breath is how it connects us to our physical body when workplace stress tends to trap us in our heads. You can't practice this technique without becoming aware of your belly, ribs, and chest, parts of ourselves we often disconnect from during intense cognitive work. This embodied awareness itself helps reduce anxiety by gently pulling us out of rumination and back into our physical experience. There's also something powerfully symbolic about filling from the bottom up, from our center outward. In many wisdom traditions, including certain Buddhist practices, the lower abdomen is considered a reservoir of vital energy. By initiating breath from this area, we reconnect with our energetic center and foundation. As with all these techniques, consistency matters more than duration. Rather than practicing 3-part breathing once for 10 minutes, try practicing for 30 seconds several times throughout your workday, particularly when you notice energy dipping or tension rising. These brief interventions can prevent the accumulation of fatigue that makes us more vulnerable to anxiety. The beauty of this technique is that it's both energizing and calming simultaneously. Where some practices primarily calm your nervous system and others primarily activate it, 3-part breath creates a balanced state of alert relaxation, exactly what you need for most workplace challenges. Try incorporating 3-part breathing into your workday this week, particularly during those energy dip periods. You might be surprised at how this simple technique can transform afternoon fatigue into focused clarity, creating a sustainable energy that carries you through your workday without the peaks and crashes of caffeine or stress hormones. Part 7. Creating a workplace breath practice. Now that we've explored these 5 powerful breathing techniques, let's talk about how to weave them into the fabric of your workday so they become second nature rather than one more thing on your to-do list. Because let's be honest, the last thing you need is anxiety about whether you're doing your anti-anxiety practices correctly. The secret to creating a sustainable workplace breath practice isn't willpower or perfect technique, it's integration. When breathing practices become linked to your existing routines and environments, they happen naturally without requiring extra time or effort. Think of it as breath practice by association. Let's start with environmental cues. Your workplace is full of potential breath triggers hiding in plain sight. The coffee machine, the elevator, your computer startup screen, the office entrance, all these can become reminders to breathe consciously. Choose specific locations or objects that you encounter regularly and mentally designate them as breath anchors. For example, the threshold of your office door becomes a 3-breath reset point every time you walk through it. The ping of a new email becomes a single box breath before reading it. The ring of your office phone triggers one conscious inhale before answering. By linking breath practices to existing environmental cues, you create dozens of mini meditation moments throughout your day without changing your schedule at all. Digital tools can be powerful allies too. Set gentle calendar reminders titled "Just Breathe" at strategic points in your day, perhaps before important meetings or during typical stress peaks. Change your computer password to "Breathe Today" or something that reminds you of your practice every time you type it. Use a mindfulness app not just for formal meditation but for brief workplace breathing breaks. One of my favorite approaches is what I call breath anchors for different work activities. Match specific breathing techniques to specific workplace scenarios. 4, 7, 8 breathing before high-stakes conversations or presentations. Alternate nostril breathing before complex problem-solving tasks. Box breathing during acute stress moments. Counting breath during routine tasks requiring focus. 3-part breath during energy slumps. This creates a personalized breath toolkit where each technique has its specific workplace application. Over time, your body and mind learn which breathing pattern serves which situation best. Building a supportive community can dramatically strengthen your practice. Find a breath buddy at work, someone who's also interested in mindfulness practices. Check in with each other, practice together during breaks, or simply share your experiences. Even one allied colleague can make a huge difference in maintaining your practice when work gets hectic. But what about workplace resistance? Not every environment is openly supportive of mindfulness practices. If you're concerned about colleagues' reactions, remember that all these techniques can be practiced invisibly. No one needs to know you're counting your exhales during that budget meeting or doing box breathing before your performance review. The results, your greater calm and clarity, will speak for themselves. For those who love data, and what workplace doesn't love metrics? Consider tracking the benefits of your practice. Create a simple scale for rating your anxiety levels before and after using breathing techniques. Note patterns of when workplace anxiety peaks and which techniques help most in specific situations. This personal data not only helps refine your practice but can be motivating when you see concrete results. What happens when you forget your practice? Which will definitely happen. This is where the Buddhist principle of beginning again becomes so valuable. There's no failure in forgetting, only another opportunity to remember. When you notice you've been caught in anxiety without using your breathing tools, simply acknowledge it with kindness and begin again with your next breath. This self-compassion is itself a powerful antidote to workplace anxiety. The ultimate goal is moving from technique to continuous awareness, from doing breathing exercises to being a mindful breather. This doesn't happen overnight, but gradually, through consistent practice, conscious breathing becomes your default state rather than something you only do when anxiety strikes. As the Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh beautifully puts it, breath is the bridge which connects life to consciousness. I've seen this transformation in my own work life. What began as deliberate breathing exercises during stressful moments has evolved into a continuous awareness of breath that subtly informs how I engage with every workplace challenge. The techniques haven't disappeared. I still use specific practices for specific situations, but they arise naturally from a foundation of breath awareness rather than being imposed on moments of panic. One executive I worked with described her experience this way. At first, I had to consciously remember to practice these techniques. It was like having a post-it note in my brain saying, "Breathe." Now, 6 months later, I noticed my breath naturally shifting to what's needed in different situations. Before a tough negotiation, my breath automatically deepens and slows. During intense focus periods, I find myself naturally counting exhales. It's become as automatic as adjusting my posture when I'm uncomfortable. This is the true gift of a workplace breath practice, not just techniques for managing anxiety, but a transformed relationship with your own internal state. Your breath becomes a constant companion and guide, helping you navigate workplace challenges with greater ease and wisdom. And unlike many workplace skills that become obsolete with changing technology or roles, breath awareness serves you across every position, project, and career transition. Start small this week. Choose just one technique that resonated with you and one specific workplace situation to apply it to. Perhaps 4, 7, 8 breathing before your daily team check-in or 3-part breath after lunch. From that simple beginning, your practice will naturally expand as you experience the benefits firsthand. As we bring our exploration of workplace breathing techniques to a close, I'm reminded of a story about the Buddha. When asked what he gained from meditation, he replied simply, "Nothing. However, let me tell you what I lost: anger, anxiety, depression, insecurity, fear of old age and death." This wisdom applies perfectly to our breath practices. We don't gain anything we don't already have. The capacity for calm, clarity, and presence has always been within you. What these practices help us lose are the layers of workplace anxiety that obscure our natural state of balance. We've explored 5 powerful techniques, each with its specific workplace application. The 4, 7, 8 breath serves as our emergency brake for acute anxiety moments. Alternate nostril breathing brings balanced clarity for complex thinking. Box breathing offers perfect equilibrium before high-pressure situations. Counting breath provides a continuous thread of awareness throughout your workday. And 3-part breath recharges your energy when workplace fatigue sets in. Together, these 5 practices form a complete toolkit for transforming your relationship with workplace anxiety. Each one is portable, practical, and perfectly suited for modern work environments where we need solutions that don't require extra time or special conditions. If you're feeling inspired but also a bit overwhelmed about where to start, I encourage you to choose just one technique this week, perhaps the one that spoke to you most strongly or addresses your most common workplace challenge. Commit to practicing it for just one specific trigger or time period each day. Even this small beginning creates momentum that naturally expands over time. Remember that the benefits of these practices extend far beyond anxiety reduction. Regular conscious breathing improves cognitive performance, enhances your ability to connect with colleagues, reduces reactivity in challenging situations, and even strengthens your immune system. In a very real sense, how you breathe shapes how you work and live. In our next episode, we'll explore the middle way, finding balance in a world of extremes, a Buddhist approach to navigating the polarizing tendencies of modern work culture. We'll discover how ancient wisdom offers a balanced path through workplace extremes, from toxic positivity to cynical pessimism, from workaholism to disengagement. Before we part, let's practice together one final time. Wherever you are right now, perhaps commuting, taking a lunch break, or winding down after work, join me for 3 conscious breaths. For the first breath, simply notice your natural breathing pattern without changing anything, just witnessing the breath that is already happening. For the second breath, intentionally deepen your inhale and extend your exhale, feeling the calming effect of this simple adjustment. For the third breath, feel the connection between your breath and your whole body, noticing how a single conscious breath can shift your entire state. This is the practice, returning to breath awareness again and again, one conscious breath at a time. In the words of Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, breath is the bridge which connects life to consciousness, which unites your body to your thoughts. Your breath is always with you, an ever-present resource for navigating workplace challenges with greater ease and wisdom. Whether you're facing a high-pressure presentation, a difficult conversation, or simply the accumulated stress of daily work life, these techniques offer a way back to center, back to yourself. Thank you for joining me in this exploration. May your workplace be filled with conscious breaths. May your anxiety be met with compassionate awareness. And may you discover that even in the midst of workplace pressures, the peace you seek is only a breath away.